Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 10 questions with video series where I ask working virtual assistants all about their business. So, question one, who are you? Tell me about your business.
Hello, I'm Gemma. I live in Suffolk in the UK, right on the coast. I have three children. They're all boys, 16, 7, and 3. My business is Gemma Assist. I have been going for 18 months now, so still quite new. I specialise working with anyone who works in the antenatal sector, early years, baby stuff, kind of people teaching baby classes, baby photographers, anything like that. And I'm more of a traditional VA in the stuff that I do for them. But I really enjoy it. I made a fantastic decision 18 months ago.
Amazing. So, question two, what did you do? What did you do before you were a virtual assistant? How did this all come about?
So my original kind of career was working in hospitality. I worked in hotels for years. I really, really loved it. But as I said, I've got a family. It's not that compatible, the shift patterns with family life. So I tried to make it work, but it just didn't. And then I did some sales admin for some time, which again, I really enjoyed. And then with children, again, maternity leaves, things like that. Then I found myself training to be an antenatal teacher, teaching antenatal classes and baby through to preschool classes. I loved it. I was really successful running my own business doing that. And then COVID happened and kind of put paid to all of that. I considered restarting that business after COVID, but it just didn't feel right for where I was at with my life as my children started to get a little bit older. And virtual assistant work was something I'd kind of had in the back of my brain for a really long time. And I just got fed up of having work that didn't work around the kids and went for it, really.
It's really interesting because I've done quite a few co-working sessions with you and didn't know that you did that. That's really interesting. So when you just said, "Oh, that's sort of my niche," I was like, "Oh, that's maybe what she did before then." I thought Gemma loads of times and just never never asked her. So with question three, what was your biggest fear when it came to setting up your business?
I think it was getting clients, really. I think it's probably for a lot of people, the kind of biggest fear. Um, I was working at a co-working space when I started being a VA, and my first client kind of came from there. I worked with somebody who was using the co-working space alongside running the co-working space. So that kind of gave me the strength. I was like, if this is it was this easy, it really was quite easy. She approached me, then I should just go for it. Yeah, so that kind of I still do have that fear. I think a lot of I don't know, maybe forever, but when you have a knockback or something like that, that fear creeps in, but you just have to kind of look back and remind yourself and resets kind of thing.
Yes, when I was talking to Holly in a previous interview, she was saying about having a thick skin. That you can't take things personally and that it's a learning process, but you can't you have to have a thick skin when it comes to these things. So when it came to overcoming that fear, was that just practice, really?
Yeah, I think it was.
Or you still have the fear, I
I
guess you'd
still
say.
do have it. I only really work part-time. As I said, my youngest is 3, so it's a growth thing for me. And I'm really hoping to see those hours creep up as he goes to school in September. But I have the fear's creeping in again as that date comes ahead that, oh, there's going to be a little bit of pressure when he goes back to school to get some more clients. So it is like a new chapter, and the fear is this sort of back there. But I feel all right. I feel all right. I know the steps and I'll do them again.
Exactly. And also, like you discovered in the first place, it's just talking to people. It's just having conversations with people and getting in front of them, like physically or digitally, I suppose, virtually. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of my clients that I work with loads at the moment, actually, is one of the school mums. So I had a chat with her husband saying, I'm going to take the leap, I'm going to do this. A few months later, literally a few months, so it's not always immediate. She approached me and just said, so it was just that chat in the school playground.
Yeah, because clients are everywhere. They
Yeah.
really are. And I think, even other business owners, they could just be walking their dog in the park or they're at the school gate because, you're a mum, you're at the school gate and you run a business. So I think that's interesting when people first start out. I think especially they kind of think that like clients are a separate beast and they're hiding somewhere, but they're just everywhere. They could be next to you in the supermarket, or um, yeah, at the school gate. So question 4, Gemma, how has your life changed since you set up your business?
Um, the flexibility is amazing. So I love that. I'm going on one of my son's school trips in a few weeks and I can't wait. And it's so good to just be able to say, yeah, I'll do it, rather than have to like negotiate childcare and just think about asking my boss for permission, just kind of accounting for where I'll be all the time. I am my own boss. I manage my own time. It's fabulous. Confidence. The confidence is huge. Having to shut my business down due to the COVID pandemic. Was a real knock. And I had postnatal depression and all that kind of stuff. And my confidence was really quite low. So doing this, being a VA, running my own business has been really, really positive. I just had a big birthday over Christmas. That combined with the kind of new year, which makes you reflect. And I saw a family friend over Christmas. She's just an acquaintance, really. And she said, I'm really proud of you. You're doing really well. And it all made me really reflective about, yeah, I am actually. And that was great. I think a lot of mums would identify with that confidence knock that you have. So yeah, really nice.
I love that because yeah, I am. I love that too because it's easy sometimes to see how far that you have to go. You don't really look back often and see how far you've come and what life used to be like before. It just becomes sort of new normal. Like I've literally just come back from the supermarket, put my shopping away. It's middle of the day, and I can just do that. I just hopped in the car, went there. There's not as many people in the day. You can have
Yeah.
appointments and do all that sort of stuff. And then here I am, working again. And I really appreciate that. And I forget that I used to be just shut in an office. I used to hate it. I remember I lived in Brighton. I remember looking at the seagulls outside and just thinking, I wish I was a seagull. Just be free like a bird.
That's fab.
Question 5. What is the most rewarding part of running your own business?
I think it's probably a lot of what we've just said, the confidence. I do feel a little sense of pride every time I tell somebody I run my own business. And on a kind of regular little reminder of that, I love when I send out my invoices. Still, like months on, that day it's on my calendar and I love it. I love sitting down. And quite often, not every month, but quite often on that day, I'll send them all out to all my clients and then I'll take the rest of the day off and I'll go and do something fun for me. Maybe I just go have a coffee somewhere with a book, but it just maybe I'm a bit smug, but it really makes me feel good.
Oh, I love that. And so on the flip side of that, question 6 is what do you feel is the most challenging aspect about running a business?
There's probably two things for me. I'd say the productivity, which I know you identify with because you've talked about it a little bit. And I can get a little bit distracted. I think that's part of working at home, although I know people in offices are, chatty nightmares. So I think there's that too. But yeah, I'll get a bit distracted by some of the stuff at home. But probably the bigger challenge for me is marketing and doing social media and being consistent. You have to be consistent, and I just find it really hard. I have a goal that when I get successful enough, that I will outsource. That's like up there because I don't enjoy it.
I think with marketing, a lot of people kind of really overthink it. And because now there's so many different ways to market your business, there's all these platforms and there's all these like you can do a podcast, you can do this, you can do that, and you see everyone doing all these things. And so you kind of think that you need to do them all. And I think it's important for all freelancers really to kind of go back to basics, like who's my client, what are their challenges, what's the purpose of this, what's my strategy, what type of posts am I going to put out for what reason. um yeah, and to not overthink it. I also see virtual assistants, they have a method that works really well for them and they're like, oh yeah, I get loads of work from referrals and networking. And then they're like, so I really need to focus more on social media. And I'm like, but why? You need to double down on the thing that's actually like, if you get a lot of referrals, imagine how well you do if you asked for referrals. Like if you actually got you double down on getting more referrals in. So I think that can be a problem as well with marketing. It says so many options of how to do it that it can be hard to see which one is the right way for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And on that note, question 7 is, how do you get your clients, Gemma?
So it probably is networking for me, just chatting to people, which has been really nice, actually. I love people. I find them so fascinating. So that kind of comes quite naturally to me. Although when I first started doing networking, I was so nervous, but it's okay, you know, and I was quite lucky. I've got, from working in the co-working space, I had a few contacts that were kind of ran networking events and stuff. So that helped me feel a little bit more confident walking in the door, knowing I'd know somebody. I did pick up one client from social media actually, which I know is a little bit more unusual, but she'd seen that I posted on Instagram about leaving that job and taking the leap. And it was again months later that she contacted me and said, "Oh, you know, you're a VA. I'd heard that VAs can be really useful for what I do." So that was lovely. But I think networking, yeah, and because it can be a lonely role being a VA and working from home. So actually I like networking for that as well, just getting out and talking to people.
Yeah, you like co-working a lot as well. Like you organise the co-working sessions in the All Stars, and that's really nice because I like doing them, but I don't always organise them, and they're not always on a day I can make. But I do like having. It's nice finding out what other people are up to, like what they're working on that day, and just sometimes you might not see a person that like an adult the whole day.
Yeah, very true. Sometimes my partner comes home and I have no conversation. But if I've done the co-working, I'm usually, oh, I did the co-working today. It was really nice. These people came and yeah, I have a bit more chat
Yeah.
then.
I'm sometimes sort of somebody might say something and I think, oh, and I'll ask a question about that, or it gives me an idea for something, or yeah, there's more to it, I think, than just the interaction. And I agree with you about networking. I remember, so my particular clients are quite niche, so I don't really find them at local networking events. You know, it's more niche, direct contact or sort of niche events that work for me. But I do remember going to networking when I first started out. And I think it helps to remember that everyone at some point, you know, was in that same boat. And one thing that I found quite useful was to almost not help run it, but I would try and make someone feel welcome. Like if I saw, you know, when someone tries to join the group a bit and they sort of hover, and it was to welcome that person in and to be that
Mm,
person and to go, so what's and ask questions, you know, how did you start your business? How long have you been going? What do you like most about it? And people like talking about their business, hopefully. You know, mostly they do because that's why they do it. So I sort of try to take on that role a little bit where I would help the host, you know, and go, oh, have you met and introduce people and that, and then it sort of makes you feel quite useful. VAs like being useful.
yeah, true. I do it similar actually. It's funny you should say that because I'll often, there's always, well, quite often when you find at networking groups, there'll be someone who maybe come in late or is just a little bit shy and they're kind of stood off to the side pretending to, I don't know, look at their phone or something. And I'll often try and go and approach them because I wasn't that long ago that person myself. And that's really, really nice, you know, and people really appreciate that and remember that. So yeah, I like to do that.
With question 8, what do you wish you had known when you first started out?
Oh, this is easy. How important boundaries are. I feel like
You are
that
not
that's
the first person.
yeah,
You're not the first person to say that.
yeah. I feel like yeah, I thought that probably would be. Definitely. I mean, I think to a certain extent, I'm still paying a little bit with some clients for not establishing those boundaries early on. Um, and yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn fast, but it's so, so important. Being that person that says yes to everything and yeah, I'll pick up that in the evening or I'll do that at the weekend. Oh God, I wish I'd known that. It's so, so important. And it might seem like kind of, I don't know, petty or small to sit down and do it, but to actually make a note for yourself of those kind of boundaries, the things you do and don't want to do, is really, really important. Setting up things like I don't know, a business WhatsApp so it's not coming into your personal phone, or I don't like putting an out of office on so that people know you're not going to respond to emails in the evenings. Those things are really important. And yeah, I really wish I took I think I thought about them, but I think I was just a little bit too flexible. I wasn't holding them firm enough at the beginning, and I really, really wish I had.
I think when you first start out too, you think that if you are too rigid, then it's going to put people off, and that you want to be one, VAs are like to be helpful, as we said, but also, yeah, you're like, oh, I don't want to put anyone off. I don't want to upset anyone or disappoint anyone or whatever that might be, because you think that they might be annoyed about that. And they're not. They never are. They'll overstep, clients overstep boundaries if they don't know that they even
Yeah.
exist, if they're even there. So you've got better at that, would you say, or is that still a work in progress?
I'm definitely a lot better. It's a work in progress, but I'm a lot better, and I'm okay with where it's at now. And I think every new client I'll be firmer with. That's kind of where I'm at now.
Question 9. Do you have a work-life balance? How do you manage that?
It's better than it's been in the past. No, I think I'm pretty good actually. Quite honestly, I've tried working when the kids are home and stuff. It doesn't work. So I have to be quite kind of realistic about that, I guess. But I know you've joined me on a co-working session before when I've had a kid off sick, like playing on the floor next to me. So yeah, I can kind of make that stuff work, but I really wouldn't want to ever work too much or have try and concentrate when the children are around. So for me, it's about working in the school runs, within the school run time. So I do work short days. I used to do evening work and it just didn't work. I just was too burnt out by the evening. So yeah, I think it's okay at the moment, but as my children get older and they're, go to school fully, it will evolve. I don't know how to make the school holidays work. I don't have any tips or answers for that one. As a working mum, my partner works full time, so he just has like 5 weeks off a year. It's impossible. There's no solution there for me. And I think a lot of mums would understand and identify with that. But I'm happy with the balanced term time.
Okay. It's interesting because doing these interviews and hearing the different strategies of everyone. A previous interview, they were like, "Oh, I work better at night. I work better at, and it's and someone else said the same as me, that they do their most creative work, their best work first thing in the morning, as well, and getting that straight in there and doing that. And then yeah, another VA said that they do their best work in the evening, which really works for them. So I've found over the years that it's building a working day that matches your personality and your energy levels, and as well as your commitments. And that's still developing for me. I've been in business since I left my job in 2009, a very long time ago. And I'm still navigating it a little bit. I still change it, but that going, what work do I have to do? And if I need to create something, like write a blog post or write something, I have to do that first thing in the morning, because that's where I have the best brain for it. But I
Yeah.
can do some things later. So I guess if your kid was off school, like, when you had your kid that was off sick, you weren't doing any, like, it was more not casual work, but work where you didn't have to really focus too much.
Absolutely, yeah. There is stuff you can do when you don't have to concentrate too much. To be honest, I wouldn't really want to do client work when he was around, because if you made a mistake, it's much worse. Whereas if I, make a mistake with my own work and bits and pieces, it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, I have the flexibility that I can pick up stuff at the weekends and evenings if I really, really have to. But it's hard, and a bit like you. I think it is something that does constantly evolve as life changes, as you go through different things in your personal life and stuff like that. One thing I really value, my kids have all got special educational needs. And with that comes extra appointments and things like that with schools and different things that I have to deal with. And I value that so much. I genuinely couldn't work in an office with children that have that kind of additional needs. So that's been hugely valuable for me and has lifted a massive amount of stress. So yeah, it's the only choice for me now.
Amazing. So last question. We've got through 10 already.
I think I've done
So
well.
final question. I know. Question 10. What advice would you give anyone who is considering virtual assistants as a career?
I would say take on all the information you absolutely can. Read everything, be in the Facebook groups when you're sitting on the sofa, you know, just chilling out, be in the Facebook groups, read every single post. Do the course, definitely do the course. It's the confidence boost that I needed. I think I just would have never trusted that I could do it without the course. You know, I always could have done, but the course made me trust myself and my own skills. And I wrote a really long list through being in the Facebook groups of tech that I believed I needed to learn. Apps. I still have that list somewhere. I should look it out and have a look. But that was really intimidating for me. And then I remember a few times I saw you had commented on those kinds of posts, because there's one every few weeks, I think, saying that you saw loads of posts about different techs and different platforms, and you didn't know how to use half of them. But that most of the work that VAs get asked to do is not that difficult, what clients ask you to do. And that's obviously stuck with me because I still remember it now, because it can get quite intimidating. Yeah, you just got to cut through the nonsense and just go for it to a certain extent.
That's come up, I think, pretty much in every interview. You know, I thought that I needed to know all these tools and apps, and because there's so many of them. And I'm like, no, you just need to know like what, like if you come from if you're say you have a particular background, you know, in healthcare or in finance, whatever, then the tools that you use will probably be related to that industry. Another virtual assistant who doesn't have those types of clients will never need those platforms and tools. And you know, the VAs who talk in the group who do use a lot of tech, it's because they're techie VAs. Like that's the services that they offer, and that's the things that their clients want because they've matched themselves. They look for that kind of work, so therefore they have clients that need that kind of stuff. Um, and if you're just doing you're helping someone out, like you said, it's not that difficult, right? It's just someone who just they just need a hand, they're busy. Then they'll show you the tool that they use, or it's just going to be something like Google Drive or Outlook, and you're like, yeah, I know that. It's really basic stuff. So I'm glad that you said that as well. And that, do you feel that doing the DIY course gave you the structure that you needed as well to know what to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just like the reviewing the CV thing and stuff like that, and the calendar exercise was all just really confidence boosting. And the CV thing, I just always like doubted my abilities, and I was like, actually, I forgot. You know, your CV is quite a good visual reminder of all your kind of work experience and all the skills you've got. And I forgot I did all this stuff. You know, in terms of the hotel work, some of the stuff that I'd done is really quite large. You know, quite a lot of responsibility. And I was actually only in my 20s then. So when I look back at that, I think, God, wow. So yeah, having that, just scrutinizing that CV and going through and going, actually, I'm great was really, really good. It was really helpful.
It's interesting because I worked in hospitality and I didn't work in hotels. I did restaurants and things. But you know, I worked in events after that, and it's a hotel. I mean, God, it's a project management job, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so big, and because I think maybe you and I were sort of attracted to those types of things because we're quite organized people. So therefore, it was not easy for us, but we probably enjoyed it and we're pretty good at it. But to somebody else, that would be like running the world. You know, the thought of like when I see those programs, you know, about running hotels and carriages and things like that. Have you ever watched
Yeah.
those? And you just go, Jesus Christ, like there's so much involved, and
Yeah.
it's a project management job, really. And yet on paper, you're just like, oh, well, I just worked in a hotel.
Yeah, I know. I lived in for some of the times that I was working in. That doesn't work for work-life balance at all. But I remember
I lived in hubs. I can tell you that. Yeah.
there was one night the fire alarm went off. The hotel was a Saturday night. The hotel was full. We had had a wedding in the house, and there was a local wedding. We had some of those guests staying, so we'd got lots of people who'd had a bit to drink, and I had to evacuate the entire building, 100 bedrooms at 1 in the morning. That was in Scotland, so it's freezing as well. And I just did it. And it wasn't until afterwards that I was like, wow, this is actually quite a big deal that I've done this. And then like organized all the other live-in staff to like clear all the floors and check all the rooms. It was huge. And when I look back now, it's like I was 22. That is phenomenal. So yeah, I think if I can do stuff like that at 22, I could probably handle anything. And I've got 3 kids as well, you know, so there's a project to manage.
Oh my God, as well. I think I've said this as well in a couple of interviews. I think that's even harder. I'm like, if you've got children, you can definitely be a virtual assistant, and
Very
you also
good.
there's quite some big gaps between yours. It's not like, oh, I like 10 and 12. And you say one was 3 and then one was much
Yeah,
older,
my
the other two are
16-year-old.
older.
Yeah, so after I had my eldest son, I was a single parent and I went and did my degree as a single parent. Well, I think I started it when he was about 3 years old. So I did my degree in hospitality management because it's what I knew. And people always remark that that's like phenomenal. And I'm like, actually, I was so organized by that point as a parent. I had to be that if I'd have tried to do it at 17, I'd have been useless. What do you know at 17? Um, but by that point, had to be really on it. And so, yeah, doing that didn't feel as hard as perhaps it would have done when I was younger.
Yeah. Wow. I'm in awe.
Just different.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Gemma. It really was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. It's lovely to talk about yourself.